today, along with the help of my colleague up on the box there. We've got Kim, and Kim is going to be the true star of the show today, and probably the one you guys came to see. Now, before I get started on the show, how was everybody's lunch and afternoon tea today?
Good.
Awesome. Good to hear that. Perfect. All right, so just going to give you guys a bit of a rundown of how the show is going to work. So in a couple of minutes, once I finish my introduction, I'll talk about sharing for a little bit. After that, I'll go behind me into that pen. I'm going to bring a sheep out and I'll share it for you guys. Then I'll talk about Kim and the dog for a little bit before taking down that saddle. I'm going to send Kim up onto the hill there, and you'll get to see her round some sheep up. We're going to finish the farm show around 1:40, and this will give you guys about 20 minutes or so to go visit the gift shop, have a further look around the farm if you'd like, and then you're back on the Earnslaw at 2 o'clock. Now at 1:55, you're going to hear a big blast from its horn, and this is to let you guys know 5 minutes until departure time. Please make sure you're getting on board the boat around then, okay? If you miss it, it's going to be another few hours until it gets back here. So I'll just find some farm jobs for you guys to do. Keep yourselves nice and busy while you wait for the boat, okay? So please make sure you're on board. All right, so a little bit about us here at Walter Peak High Country Farm. So we are a working farm. We're about 155 acres of land. On it, we farm around 350 sheep. These are crossbred sheep, bred for their meat, along with a few beef cows, and then we've also got our pet animals out on the front of the farm. However, we're not quite your typical farm. Although we do make money from the sale of the meat and the wool and things like that, it's not our primary source of income. Instead, it's through tourism, so the farm shows, the farm tours, the restaurant, etc. And then you guys might have noticed that big mountain range behind you there, behind the restaurant. So that's Walter Peak Station. Now they're a very big operation. They're about 63,000 acres of land. On it they farm about 20,000 merino sheep and about 1,000 Angus cattle for their beef. They're one of the biggest producers of merino wool in New Zealand over there at Walter Peak Station. Now to share all 20,000 sheep, as you can imagine, it's a pretty big job, and in order to get it done, they will use professional or contract sharers. Now these guys and girls are very good at what they do. They can share a sheep in about a minute or two's time. They'll do over 200 sheep in one day, and earn around $4 to $6 for every sheep they share. So quite a good business for them as well. It takes them around 17 days to get through all 20,000 sheep there at Walter Peak Station. And as I said, those are merino sheep. So I'm sure quite a few of you here have heard of merino wool before. It's very famous for being soft and fine, gets used in a lot of high quality products, and it's very valuable stuff. Sells for around $25 to $30 a kilo. Now our sheep here, because they're crossbreeds, meat breeds of sheep, their wool is a lot thicker and coarser than your merino wool. It's not as desirable, usually gets used in things like carpets and other textiles, and it sells for around $3 a kilo. Now you get about roughly 1 kilo's worth of wool off the sheep each time you share it. So for those of you who are doing the maths, $3 a kilo, 1 kilo off a sheep, and then paying a shearer $4 to $6 to shear the sheep, you're losing money on the wool. So people will ask us, well, why do you still shear the sheep if you're not going to make any money off it? It is a fantastic question, one that we'll ask ourselves sometimes as well, but we've got a few different reasons for doing it, and they're all sort of health-related reasons. First reason being, okay, wool's a lot like your hair, it doesn't stop growing. We let the wool carry on growing, the sheep ends up with a very thick and heavy fleece. Now this is quite dangerous for them to have for a few reasons. First reason being, it gets very hot around here in the summer, very dry. If the sheep was to have that heavy fleece on for the summer, they'd end up overheating or getting heat stroke. The wool getting really long also means it's going to get into and over the sheep's eyes. This causes something called wool blindness, means the sheep can't see where it's going, which again, pretty dangerous, especially out here in the hill country, where we've got quite a few cliffs and edges where sheep could go wandering off, getting themselves into trouble if they can't see where they're going. Thick and heavy wool also inhibits the movement of the sheep, stops it moving around properly and getting to enough food. So just to keep them nice and safe, nice and healthy, we'll share our sheep, get rid of all of that wool, let them move around without any issues. Sheep aren't the cleanest of animals either. They spend a lot of time laying down on their bellies. Those bellies get covered in mud. The mud smells, attracts flies. Flies will lay eggs on the sheep's wool and skin. You then end up with maggots, and you end up with something called fly strike. As you can imagine, this is really bad for sheep's health, so a little bit more often we'll do something called a belly and a crutch shear. So this is just shearing the wool on the belly, the stomach area, and then the crutch, the area around the bum, cleaning the sheep up, and we don't have issues with flies. Now this is what we've been doing for the past 3 months or so, with the winter weather, with it being very cold, a bit too cold to be fully shearing sheep. But now, with the start of spring, with a bit more warm weather, a bit more dry weather, unfortunately not today, we have been fully shearing our sheep for the past week or so. So you guys will get to see a full shear today. Now to shear my sheep, I'm going to be using this tool over here. So this is called a handpiece, and it's probably your most common method for shearing sheep nowadays, and what most shearers tend to use. How it works, a little bit like a barber's clippers. So you're going to have this comb here, and that will run against the skin of the sheep with a cutter here, moving backwards and forwards, and that's activated by me pulling this rope here, like so, and that will remove the wool. Now, a handpiece makes the job relatively easy, okay, about as easy as you can make shearing, and the world record for the fastest time to fully shear one sheep with a handpiece was done in about 37 seconds. This record, set by an Irishman, it's a very impressive accomplishment, okay? And I do ask that you lower your expectations with me today. I'm not going to be breaking any world records on this show. I'm not even going to come remotely close to it. Now I'm going to go in and get my sheep in a moment. However, a couple of things that I want to keep in mind while shearing my sheep. First thing being, I want to keep the skin of the sheep nice and tight. So sheep have a lot of loose skin. This creates wrinkles, and it's quite easy for those wrinkles to get caught up in the blades of the shears, causing small cuts or nicks. Now we'll try and do everything to avoid this from happening. Sorry about that. However, if it does happen, keep in mind it's essentially like a shaving cut for the sheep. It's quite shallow, quite surface level. It will heal up nice and quickly, so please don't worry if that happens. The other thing is, I'm going to bring the sheep out on its back, and this is the position it's going to remain in while I'm shearing it. The reason why I do this, so sheep, when they think they're in danger, it's their natural instinct to try and run away. Fairly sensible of the sheep. By putting it on its back, can't use its legs to get away anymore, gets a bit confused, doesn't really know what's going on, and sheep, bless them, not really the brightest of animals to begin with, it will kind of just give up on life. So hopefully the sheep will just sit there nice and still and allow me to shear it in the safest way possible for both me and the sheep. Although you do get some tricky customers, some that will wriggle around, throw a bit of a tantrum, kick me and try and get away, a bit like taking your child for their first ever haircut. So if the sheep does get away, please don't worry guys, don't worry about the sheep. You will see me panicking a little bit though. Luckily got my trusty sidekick Cam over there, who should hopefully go and get the sheep back for me. Now before I begin, question for you guys, do I have any sheep shearers here or anyone who has shorn a sheep before? Do I have a couple over here at least? Or, yeah? Alright, well you can judge me. The rest of you guys, not allowed to. Still quite new to shearing sheep myself. I learned how to do it here. Been bellying and crutching sheep for about 2 months now. However, only been fully shearing sheep for just over a week now. So as I said, not breaking any world records for you guys, but should still put on a good show. So I'm going to go in and grab my sheep now. Alright, so here's our sheep, everybody. Say hello. So as you can see, in this position, sheep's not too sure what's going on right now. Okay, kind of given up on life. However, it's still a bit tense. It might kick around a bit and make my job a little bit more difficult. So as you can see, the sheep has been bellied and crutched fairly recently, about a week or so ago. So nice clean skin and wool around there. And then while you guys were having your lunch or your afternoon tea, just at the top of the head and around the neck, as it can be a little bit of a fiddly area, and it just takes off some of that pressure for me while I'm doing it in front of 200 people. Now the rest of the wool is going to come off the sheet. I'm going to take that all off. I'm going to switch my microphone off while sharing my sheet. Reason why, it's quite strenuous work. I breathe quite heavily when doing it, and I don't think anybody here wants to hear that noise over the sound system. So make a start on the sheet now.
某个干鬼了，他今天的声音就下去了，一走就睡觉，上班睡觉。那他找的这两个人是不是第一次割的？每年割一次。好酷！对呀，你夏天来了，它就割那个毛，它也是冻死的，热死了。来跟羊毛没有，这个。油腻腻的那个，你拿怎么看？它现在，你看它是红的，两个只见了一半。好了，开始。卖这羊毛有卖这种限量购。我的狗们现在可以看。
It's alright, she just thought the haircut was over, but nearly there. microphone back on. So the sheep has now been fully shorn. So as you can see, in some areas there's nice pink skin, and this is ideally what you want to aim for all over the sheep. It means you've got as close to the skin as possible and taken off as much wool as you can. And then any yellow stuff that you can see in the wool or the skin, that's from a substance called lanolin, oily substance used by the sheep to keep itself warm and waterproof. Also used in your skincare products, so things like moisturisers. So after the farm show, kind of push this to the front and you can come grab some wool and take it home with you if you'd like. As you guys can see, I'm quite out of breath, and that's just after shearing one sheep. So you can imagine how difficult this work is for professional shearers who do hundreds of these sheep in one day. World record remains perfectly safe there, but you guys can say you've seen your first sheep shearing, tick it off your bucket list. Sure is very high up on there. Any feedback from my professional up there? Yep, got there in the end. So there you guys go. I'm going to put the sheep away now. Say goodbye to the sheep, everybody. Alright, so that wraps up the shearing part of the show, and now it brings me on to the true star of the show over here, and this is Kim. So a little bit about Kim. Kim is a short-haired border collie. She's 9 years old, and she works as a heading dog. She's one of the 8 dogs that we have here at Walt's Peak. They're all short-haired border collies like Kim. They all work as heading dogs as well, and they're all females like her as well. Their ages vary from about 10 months old, so pups still in training, to around 12 years old, so now retired dogs. Kim and I are still actually very new to each other. We just started working together about 2 days ago now, so still working on building our relationship. Worked with a few of the other dogs here for a little bit longer, but starting to work with Kim for the first time. Did our very first show together yesterday as well. As you can see, Kim is very sweet. She likes her pets and her cuddles almost as much as she loves her job, and she can be a bit of a sook sometimes as well. A little bit attention seeking, a little bit needy, but still fantastic at what she does. Isn't that right, Kim? So just going over a couple of things that I said there. So first thing being that she's a short-haired border collie. So this is her breed, and it's probably your most common. Kim, get off. Kim, get off. And it's probably your most common breed of sheepdog or of heading dog here in New Zealand. We like to breed them for the short coats, as during the mustering season, so when we're heading up into the hills to bring our sheep in for things like shearing, a heading dog will do a lot of running while working. They'll run up to 100 kilometres just in one day. So the short coats keep them nice and cool, stop them from overheating while they're doing all of that work. The other thing that I said is that she's a heading dog. So this describes her role, her job, and the way that she moves sheep. So in a moment, I'm going to send her up onto the hill there. She's going to go up and around it, get on top of it, ahead of the sheep, and then she's going to push them down towards me. She's going to follow a series of commands that I give her to steer and move the sheep in the direction that I want. She's trained to follow both voice and whistle commands, and I'll be using a combination of the two to bring the sheep down to me. Now before I send Kim up onto the hill there, a question for you guys, so we'll get a show of hands on this, a vote. So raise your hands if you think Kim is going to bark at the sheep to move them. She's going to use her voice. Any takers? 1 or 2? Okay. And who thinks she's going to stay nice and quiet? Yep, so you guys would be right. So how she's going to move the sheep, she's not going to bark at them. Instead, she's going to use her eyes. So these are also known as eye dogs. And how it's going to work, she's going to give them a bit of a glare. Now any husbands, you might recognise this look from when you've been in a bit of trouble back home. Wife's giving you a bit of a stare as a telling off. And this look, it scares the sheep, okay, and they want to move away from Kim. Now you might have seen Kim here shaking a little bit. Now this isn't because she's cold or nervous. Instead, it's because she's really excited. As I said, she loves her job, she loves the sheep, All she wants to do is chase them all day long. In fact, she's giving me that exact glare right now going, when are you going to stop talking? I want to go chase some sheep. So, Kim, pop down. Get over. Quiet. Stand. So I've told her to stand. Kim, stand. Stand still there. She's now waiting for my command to go get the sheep. And that command is, get away.
They didn't need one to go in the gate. That one goes
So there you guys go. Kim brought the sheep down to me. I'm now going to give her a command to call her in. This is a command these dogs don't tend to like. As I said, they love their job and all they want to do is chase the sheep all day long. That's it, Kim. On the go. And as she comes on in, give her another good round of applause for a job well done. So what I'm doing now is giving Kim her reward for bringing the sheep down and following my instructions. So that's lots of pats and praise for a job well done. This is how we treat our dogs. We don't give them food throughout the day. Reason why, the amount of running they have to do. If I was to send her up that hill on a full stomach, she'd end up getting extremely sick. Probably a bit like you guys trying to run after your big lunch there. So this is her form of a treat instead. So just taking you through some of the commands used there to move the sheep. So the get away command is to get away, go find the sheep. Walk up, or 2 short blasts of the whistle is to walk up to them. Stand, or 1 long blast, is to stand still. Where sends it to a left-hand side, go by to a right-hand side. So that's how I'm able to steer the sheep and move them, stop them from getting away. Now it takes about 2 years of training to get a heading dog to this sort of stage. Once they've been fully trained, they'll then go to dog trials, and then from there they go up on auction. At auction, a heading dog will sell between about $5,000 to $10,000, with the record sale of one being around $55,000. Now, I know this is a lot of money, especially for a dog, but you saw how easy she made my job there. All I had to do really, stand down here, give her a few commands, and she's brought the sheep all the way to me. Saved me a lot of time and effort of running up the hill and getting the sheep myself. If I went to go get them by myself, still only probably be about halfway up that hill and more out of breath than I was after shearing. So these dogs, they make our lives so easy, they're worth every single cent to us, and we're completely unable to do this sort of work without them. So this wraps up the farm show, guys. So if you'd like, you can come up, you can come ask any questions. You can come say hi to Kim. She's pretty friendly. I'll push this wall to the front and you can come and grab some of it as well. Go visit the gift shop, and please make sure you're back before the store before 2 o'clock. Thank you very much, everybody.